Have you ever had one of those days where it just feels like your world suddenly shrinks? Where everything becomes so much that your own thinking feels, well, smaller, more constrained? It turns out that's not some kind of personal failing. It's actually a completely predictable feature of how your brain is designed to work. It's a really common experience, isn't it? One moment you're full of ideas, and the next your options just seem to vanish. Simple decisions suddenly feel enormous, and big problems look like they only have one, usually not very helpful solution. And when you feel like this, it is so easy to think you've done something wrong. But what's really going on is a normal, predictable brain function. It's a process that we call narrowing. So narrowing isn't a bug in your system, it's a feature. It's the brain's go-to strategy for managing what's known as cognitive load, which is just the total amount of mental work it's trying to get through at any given moment. To really get a handle on this, the traffic light processing framework gives us a fantastic metaphor. Let's imagine your mind is a huge, complex road network. In this network, your brain is the driver, and every single decision you make, every piece of information you take in, is like a junction, a point where you have to decide which way to go. Now, when your system is regulated and everything's running smoothly, the driver, your brain, can see the whole map clearly. You can see all the different routes leading away from the junction. This allows for really flexible thinking. You can compare paths and choose the best one. But what happens when that junction gets completely overloaded? When there's just too much traffic coming from every direction. Well, the brain has to simplify the map, and fast. And the difference is stark. In a regulated system, you have that full, detailed map with lots of routes. But when the system is overloaded, it simplifies that map, defaulting to the most familiar patterns. Whole pathways just seem to disappear from view. So to manage all that traffic, your brain doesn't even try to evaluate every single option. Instead, it starts putting up road closed signs on certain mental pathways. And here's the crucial thing to remember. These mental routes still exist. They haven't gone anywhere. Access to them is just temporarily restricted while the system tries to manage its load. But closing roads isn't the only tool in the box. Sometimes the brain creates a diversion, actively redirecting your mental traffic away from a complex route and onto a completely different path. These diversions almost always send you down the most familiar, well-worn pathways. And why is that? Well, it's because those automatic routes require far less mental energy to navigate, which is exactly what an overloaded brain is looking for. So let's just dig into the science behind this strategy for a moment. It really all comes down to the fundamental limits of our brain's processing power. Think of it this way. Our working memory, which is mostly run by the prefrontal cortex, has a very strict capacity. When demands go over that limit, its performance drops. To make up for it, the brain shifts its reliance onto faster, more automatic systems, which just don't support the same level of flexible, creative thinking. It's that internal feeling of being completely buried under the weight of it all, isn't it? Every task, every complex thought, every powerful emotion, they all contribute to that overall cognitive load. So what causes this overload? It's not just about having too many things on your to-do list. The load is also increased by internal factors, like being physically tired or feeling emotional pressure. And then there are external factors, like built-up stress or even just a noisy, demanding environment. It all adds up. You'll probably recognize the signs of this in daily life. It might be feeling completely stuck on a problem or repeating the same unhelpful behavior over and over again. Or maybe it's that general mental fogginess, where you just struggle to get started on anything. These are all signs the brain is simplifying its map. But this brings us to what is probably the most important and reassuring message in all of this. When narrowing happens, your capacity for complex thought hasn't vanished. It's just temporarily out of reach. This really is the key takeaway. The system has simply and very logically restricted access to manage a load it can't sustain. The underlying road network, your ability to think flexibly and creatively, is still fully intact. And the path back is just as predictable. As the overall load on your system starts to decrease, your internal regulation improves. The junction clears up, those road closed signs come down, the diversions vanish, and suddenly the full map of possibilities becomes visible once again. Your brain's natural flexibility simply returns. So the next time you feel your thinking start to shrink, remember it's not a failure, it's a signal. The goal isn't to push through and force yourself to think harder. That's just adding more traffic to the pileup.
The real question to ask yourself is, what can I do right now to reduce the load and help clear the traffic at my junction?